Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and early, 4 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I had a dilemma this morning, what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the proliferation of violence and unruly passengers on airlines. And a lot of it tied in to Trumpism. A good portion of it tied into anti-maskers and the whole Capitol thing. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the MAGA Frank rally, the carnival atmosphere that was, with Trump appearing on the video screen and his sleepy eyes on that. But in this first video today, I want to share with you how I've kind of had to morph over the last month. I believe in survival of the fittest. I've learned over the last 14 years of my recovery, 14 and a half years of my recovery, that you have to accept change. Change is inevitable. And then when I look back over the last 14 years, I really thought about change is scary. Especially now that I'm in recovery, I have a very set, regulated life in order to keep myself clean and sober. And, my day is regulated. I do everything the same every day. And so change is especially scary to me. But one thing I realized over the last 14 and a half years is that every single time that I've had to move, that I've changed vocations or girlfriends or whatever, that inevitably it starts with fear, and resistance to change. But every single time, my life ended up being better. I ended up being in a happier, better place every single time. This is something that brought me a lot of relief. Coming to this realization over the last couple of weeks. Let me talk about this. I've discovered I never really gave a lot of thought into what I look like to other people. I'm a very independent person. You guys know I'm artistic. If you ask somebody to one word to describe themselves, what would you guys say if I asked you just down below in the comments, put one word describing yourselves? Do that if you would, please. For me, it's independent. Independent. So I've never given a lot of thought to what I look like. I've always known, being 6'4", I was always bigger than everybody else. I've always felt like I stood out, and plus having a little different look. People always kind of wondered what nationality I was. I always stuck out a little bit. I never really gave it much thought. Recently, I really think I would enjoy a 55 and over community for peace of mind, working on my artwork and stuff like that. It's not that I don't like kids or families or anything, but it would just be, for a quiet guy like me, it would be more conducive to a work atmosphere. I've become much more non-confrontational in these older years, and it just really seems the best bet for me. And plus, this is another thing I've discovered. I've learned a lot of things over the last month looking for a place to live. Unfortunately, my vocation, being a professional artist, and my income here from YouTube, it's very unpredictable. Not to me, because I know my art that sells. I know I have total confidence. I have so much work that I have to turn people down. I've just as an example, I've had multiple requests for I've never had this before, but I have multiple requests for grandparents wanting portraits of their grandchildren graduating high school, for me to paint portraits of that. I've never had those requests before. I think it has something to do with the kids going back to school or something like that. I've actually gotten requests for Christmas paintings. People asking early because I had to turn them down last year, and I've already gotten requests for paintings for Christmas. I already have more work than I know what to do with. But here's the thing: when I apply for apartments and I tell them, they want a solid number, like a paycheck, and that's something I don't have. I have confidence that I can make as much money as I need to make. I have too much work. But telling people that isn't the same as having a bank statement. And the same thing with YouTube. My views, I believe my art is more solid in income than YouTube, because I could accidentally say the wrong thing on here and just lose a ton of views in one day. I've seen it happen on other channels. But anyway, the thing I've learned is that I've loved my vocation, the professional artist, and here on YouTube and everything else I do. I've done some drafting work, some driving work, and I love it. I love the freedom of it. I love the creativeness of it. But it's not something that is easy to verify when it comes to getting a home, buying a home, renting a home. And it's put me in a bad position. Even though I have belief in myself, other people, people, unfortunately, a lot of people are dishonest out there and would make up stuff. And, I don't have to do that, but I could understand how when people look at my income, they're a little skittish sometimes. All right. Another thing I've come to realize over, like I was talking about, I kind of stick out. I've been to a few of these 55 and over communities, and I love them. I'm a quiet guy. I'm single. Like I said, I've described myself as introverted before, but I just kind of get lost in reading and painting and all that. It's not really, I'm not antisocial. I just prefer my own company sometimes. Okay, so when I've been to some of these 55 and over communities, a couple times, more than once, I'm outside and I'm talking to real estate agents, and I see people coming and going, and it's inevitably it's always men that I notice this with, and they'll come by me as I'm talking to my real estate agent or somebody else, and I get like an angry stare. I've actually said, "Hey, how you doing?" When you see somebody looking at you, you're like, "Hi, how you doing? Good afternoon." And I get nothing in return. And inevitably, when I look at these guys, they have baseball caps, kind of scruffy looking, t-shirt. I never even thought about this. I never gave this much thought, but I am more active, more fit than a lot of guys my age. I have a lot more hair and a lot of different hair than guys my age. And I never really, like I said, I never really, I am who I am, and I never really gave much thought. But I stick out. And a large portion, I've had to kind of accept this and learn how to deal with it. I think if I'm going to have a place to live, I'm going to have to kind of morph, become a chameleon. Doesn't mean I'm going to change my politics at all. Like I told you guys, I totally believe in Darwinism and change and adapting to your environment and all that. You guys remember back in November, like when I took a knee, I marched in there all by myself, and confronted a couple hundred Trump supporters. I think I'm going to have to change my tactic a bit. This is something I've learned over the last month. A lot of the real estate agents I've met, I'll describe one real estate agent pulled up and it was a nice Lincoln SUV, and it had a Trump sticker on it, and it had a CCL, Connecticut Concealed Carry License, CCCL. That's what it's called here. And it had one of those with a picture of a gun on it. So I know that I'm dealing with a Republican and a Trump supporter here. I need this person. I need to interact with this person on a professional level. And the majority, from my perspective, the majority of real estate agents, the majority of owners of a lot of these properties are of that political persuasion. So I have to adjust my demeanor, my tactics. And this is kind of how I do it. Lately, if the subject of politics comes up at all, I just say I'm tired of politics. I'm sick of both parties, and I don't have any preference. I use this tactic because then I become a non-combatant. That's how I put it. If you state you're from one side or the other, you instantly become an adversary. And I can't afford to do that when I'm dealing with a property owner or a real estate agent, and I'm facing being homeless in 6 days. I kind of have to adjust to my surroundings and kind of morph in. So this is how I do it. I'm not faking anything. I'm just adjusting my demeanor so that it's more conducive, more friendly to the people I have to deal with. So the first thing, if it comes up at all, I just make it a point that I'm not into politics. I'm tired of the whole scene, and I don't have any, I love exercise and art and all that. And that's where my interests lie. And that's not lying. It's just downplaying one part of my personality, and I think this is the best way to go. Now, when dealing with Republicans or Trump supporters, a lot of times I've just been quiet lately and I let them talk. Like I said, I've taken the approach of becoming a non-combatant. The general idea here, as I've discovered, is saying that I'm a liberal or progressive and presenting my point of view does not change their point of view. It just they instantly dig in. What I'm saying here is I found that over the last month, there's no point in arguing. There's no point really stating the way, what I believe, that there wasn't fraud in the election, that the COVID-19 virus probably did come from a wet market and all that. I just keep that to myself, really, because I found that you could have the best argument. Actually, when you have the best argument and the best points, it just makes these people dig in more, and you become an adversary. So I've chosen just to, if somebody I'm talking to is a Trump supporter, Republican or whatever, I just listen to their side of the story, and I smile, I agree. It's a form of handling people, really. To be honest, it's kind of a form of manipulation. It's a form of survival for me. A lot of times I'll repeat back. There's something that'll stick out. Bo, the fifth column, mentioned this in a recent video. In a way with dealing with Trumpers and Republicans is bringing up the Constitution. Or he said, Bo, the fifth column said, nobody's going to tell me how to raise my kids. In a recent video, Bo was talking about saying that in order to, it kind of disarms people, And right away, I've done this. You repeat back to them something that means a lot to them. And you could see their demeanor come down a level. That you can see them open up and kind of smile. And at this point, right now in my life, looking for and having to get out there and deal with other people of other political ideas, I have to kind of morph and adjust and kind of become a non-combatant, as I call it. So that's what I do. If people insist on talking about politics, I'll just agree. I'll smile. And a lot of times I'll feed a line back to them. Something that, if it might be about the Constitution or freedom or whatever. And freedom is, freedom is very important to me, freedom is America. And you see, they become less combative, less hostile. You become less of an adversary. And that's what I need right now. I need to kind of blend in. At this point in my life, I can't afford to just argue for the sake of arguing. A good portion, this is something I've come to realize, is I just don't fit in. I'd really like to live in a 55 and over community. And if you think about it, that is the land of Trump, really, the land of Republicans. So in order to survive and to kind of morph in, I think I'm going to have to take it down a level and become less combative outwardly. I think it's a way of handling people. I don't like to. It is a way of manipulating people, but for the sake of this video, I'd really rather not say that, because inevitably there's going to be some Trumpers or Republicans watching this. I'm going to have so much more to talk about because I haven't actually secured a roof over my head yet. I can't be more exact than I'm being now. But up until recently, I never gave it a lot of thought about my hair. Usually in the last 14 years, I've dated 2 girls. I didn't start dating until 7 years of being clean and sober. And that was one of the most important things in me staying clean and sober, was just concentrating on myself for 7 years. But after 7 years, I got my first relationship, and I had that for a couple of years. And my hair was a mess. Up until then, I cut my hair myself. Yeah, I cut my hair myself. It was a big shaggy mess. And then I just started, I figure why not take the advice of a female, of a pretty female that I'm dating, on hairstyles. And that's what I've done. That's the reason I have this hairstyle. I've kind of made it my own. The hairstyles I've had were just suggestions of the girls I was dating. But I found that I don't fit in with the average 55-year-old. I don't fit in with, I obviously don't fit in with, Republican Trumpism, people who are Trump supporters. I don't look like a Trump supporter, and I never even gave that much thought up until recently. No, I'm not going to change the way I look. I have to draw the line somewhere. I'm not going to start donning a MAGA hat. But I believe when it comes to conversation, taking it down a level and appearing as a non-combatant, as I call it, was going to be the best policy for kind of smoothing my way in and getting a roof over my head. And then maybe I could be myself after that. But up until then, I think it's going to be a tricky mission of avoiding politics until I can secure a place to live. All right, I'll talk more on this next video, and I want to talk about that MAGA Frank rally. You guys have a great Monday.